So welcome to the Engage and Excite Your Patients with TRIOS Patient Excitement Act. It is being presented by Sarah Graboe, Manager, North American Academy Operations at 3Shape Academy. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Kelly Bevington, iOS Field Trainer for NDX. Take it away, Kelly.
Thanks so much, Jessica. Appreciate it. We are thrilled to have Sarah with us this evening. And Sarah, I want to make sure I pronounce your last name correctly. Graboe?
Graboe, you're close.
Graboe. Very good. So we've had the pleasure of interacting with Sarah for, gosh, over a year now, preparing for several different courses over 2021. And a little bit about Sarah. She is currently the Academy Operations Manager for 3Shape, training for TRIOS specifically. And she started her career in dentistry in 2010 in a high-end cosmetic practice. Started working with 3Shape in 2015. But as a dental assistant, she really gained that firsthand knowledge that she can speak to personally from her experiences with the software and the digital workflows that she'll be reviewing this evening. As a team leader for the Academy, her knowledge and experience is something she'll be able to share with you and your training needs and ensure that your office is ready for the exciting journey ahead. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you everyone for joining us today. As Kelly said, my name is Sarah. I'm the Academy Operations Manager over at 3Shape. And today we're going to be talking about the patient engagement apps and how we can really integrate them into your practice to not only excite your patients, but then help drive that customer experience. We're going to be starting off with some of our scanning features and then really dive into those engagement apps and talk about certain features that really just set it apart. Let me move this over here real quick. Okay, perfect. So what are 3Shape engagement apps? 3Shape engagement apps are really there for you to help communicate with your patients potential treatment. This can range from talking about changes over time to wear patterns and why teeth keep chipping, all the way to smile design and ortho treatment. So today we're going to kind of be going through each of those individually. We're going to start off by talking about one of them, which is called patient-specific motion. Now, patient-specific motion is not necessarily under the patient engagement apps, but it is an additional education feature that I always feel that needs to be talked about because of the real experience that it can bring for that patient. So I'm going to start off by pulling up a patient within my software. And I have a DSG webinar patient already all set in. If I needed to add a new patient, I could by selecting the new patient field, but it's going to be important that you always search for patients first. You'll see why when we go over some of the other apps that are available, but for right now, I'm going to search for DSG and I will select my patient's name and create a new case. For this demonstration, we're going to be doing just a regular scan-only case, meaning that we're going to be doing basically a study model that we're going to then be able to analyze using patient-specific motion. So for this instance, when I'm choosing my lab, I can either decide to send it to a lab, such as my Sarah's Lab demo, or I can scan it as an in-house. I'm going to go ahead and scan it as in-house since I don't plan on sending it out right now. I'm just using it for diagnostic purposes. Once I'm on my prescription, on the left-hand side of the screen, I have all of my indications. I will start off by selecting Scan Only and then hitting Next. One second. Okay. So Scanning today, I'm going to be using a TRIOS 3 scanner. Okay, it is wired. Okay, and I'm going to start off by scanning my lower arch. When I'm scanning my lower, it's going to be important that I follow my scan paths. The reason for that is what we call artificial intelligence scanning, or AI scanning. Artificial intelligence scanning allows the software to kind of take control and tell it what it needs in order to continue moving forward, meaning that it will help eliminate excess tissue, cheek, glove, lip, all of those things, so that you don't need to really pack those cotton rolls in, you don't have to use a mirror, you can really just get in and get scanning all by yourself. So I have my typodont friend here, and I'm going to start off by scanning, and I'm going to go occlusal, lingual, and then buccal, all the way around. Now, this artificial intelligence will help remove any of those excess tissues if I was working in an actual mouth, of course. But our scan paths are what they are to help that artificial intelligence recognize what it needs. So you'll always go occlusal for reference. That's what will help give you your base. But then when you roll lingual, the scanner will push that tongue out of the way, so that way you have that nice, beautiful lingual side that you're able to capture really clearly. So that way when you roll buccal and the tongue inevitably falls into the occlusal plane and into that lingual side, it doesn't matter. The software goes like, oh, no, 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 that's not supposed to be there, and automatically removes it for you. So like I said, there's no need for cotton rolls to be shoved in there, to have four-handed dentistry going, to have a saliva ejector and all these other things in the mouth. We want the patient to be just as comfortable as you are while you're scanning. So now that we've scanned the lower, I'm going to use my scanner to move to the upper, hands-free, okay? And I'm going to scan my upper arch using that same philosophy. But this time, I don't have the tongue to worry about, but rather the cheek and the lip. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to scan occlusal, buccal, then palatal. Okay? And when I do my palate, okay, with my lingual, and now I can get all up in my palate. Okay? So if I've missed any areas, like I'm missing that little spot over there on 8, I can just hop back in and fill it back in. Once I'm happy with my upper scan, I'm then going to take my bite. On full arch scans, we're going to take 2 bites, one on the right and one on the left. So I'm going to start by taking my first bite. And then I will take bite 2. Perfect. And now we get into the good stuff. So once my scan finishes aligning, down here in this lower left-hand side, you'll see that I have Add Motion Scan as an option. If I go ahead and select that, it's going to add an additional workflow to my top bar up here. Right? So once I'm in Motion Scan, it's going to use the 2 bites that I just took as reference. So when you're scanning your initial bite scans, you want to make sure that you complete your bite. Even if it comes together immediately, that's great. But if you plan on doing a patient-specific motion, take that full quadrant bite, right, up to about the canine or lateral, just so then that way when you do your motion, you have a little bit of room to work with. Now, when I take my motion scan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice with my patient first, okay? This is because they don't know what we're trying to accomplish. They don't know what we're specifically looking for. So if you just put the scanner in and tell them to grind around, you're not going to get what you're looking for. So I always recommend practice with the patient first, have them move into the excursions that you're looking for, and then try it with the scanner. So I have my little typodont here. So what I'm going to do as the scanner, I'm going to turn my scanner on once I'm in the mouth, and I will stay stationary. My patient will do all the movement. So my patient is biting. I turn my scanner on. Once I hear my clicking, my patient will then begin to move into their excursions. Okay. And once I'm happy with their excursive movement, I will turn it off. While it processes that data, really talk about the value of patient-specific motion. So patient-specific motion is going to capture those interferences in their bite. So this can be used to help show patients why maybe they keep chipping a front tooth. Maybe they're grinding and they're chipping that front tooth back over and over again. Perhaps you're going to be creating a new restoration and you want to see how it aligns with everything else in the mouth. And you are actually able to send this to your lab with the patient-specific motion, and they can use that when creating your restoration, which will lead to better fitting restorations chairside, less adjustments, and quicker seat appointment. So here's our patient-specific motion. You can see it kind of running back and forth. If I select switch view, right, it's going to open it up, and I can see as it's moving through my motion, all those different contact points, right? You will notice that it's only showing it on the side that I captured my bite from, on this side. It is because right now patient-specific motion does only record in quadrant. It does not record across the arch. So if I wanted to see both sides, I would just clear my scan and do it on the other side as well. Right? So again, patient-specific motion is really going to be there to help educate your patients and help your lab make better fitting occlusal contacts on your restorations. So once we're done with this one, I'm going to head back home, back to my patients page. I'll skip post-processing for now. And we're going to get into some of the engagement apps. Now, there are 3 true engagement apps, and those engagement apps come with our TRIOS 3 wired and wireless, as well as our TRIOS 4 scanners. Those 3 engagement apps are going to be Treatment Simulator, Patient Monitoring, and Smile Design. And we're going to go through each of those now. The first one I like to start with is going to be Treatment Simulator. And the reason for that is it takes existing workflows and adds something extra to them, really without any additional work from the staff. So this is a great one where if you have your hygienist scanning, this is a great one to get your hygienist scanning, because they could take a quick lower upper bite scan and then when you come in to do your exam, you could talk about, well, like, you know, we had talked about how you wanted ortho in the past. Here's what we could potentially do for you. Why don't we send it out to a clear aligner company to see what they could create for you. So this is a great one to really kind of start getting other members of your staff involved in scanning, because it really doesn't require anything extra than an upper, lower, and a bite. So I have a demo case here that I'm going to be using today. And if I open up my prescription, you'll see that all I have marked is scan only, just like we just did with patient motion. And I also have treatment simulator selected. Now, chair side, it would then prompt me to scan my full lower, upper, and 2 bites, just like I just did. Then at the end of my workflow, I have this treatment simulator option. If I go ahead and select that, it's going to start generating my TRIOS treatment simulator. Okay? So once it's simulated, we can see here on the left is our before, and on the right is our after. In our view modes, we can take a look at just the before, just the after. And we also have this new feature here called animation, where it will show you how it looked before to where it would look after. Right? You also have the ability here to come up to adjustments. Okay? And this is where, if you are with your patient chair side, you can kind of really talk and understand about what they're looking for. So if you showed them this after, let's pull up just our after, and they said, you know, I was really thinking that my canine would be more rotated. You say, okay, great. Let's see what that would look like. We can grab our rotation tool. We can turn that a little bit this way, and we can now see it in its new rotated position. Okay. If we wanted to close this gap, we can use our mesial distal tool, bring this forward. Okay. And we can make these minor adjustments to help us really understand what the patient is really looking for. So that way, when we do send it out to a clear aligner company and they give us our treatment plan back, we already have an idea of what that patient is looking for and what we can do to help that patient reach their goals. So it also offers down at the bottom here in this lower left-hand corner, shading or tooth coloring. So you can see how my right side is a little bit whiter. So we can make it a little bit whiter more. And that's a great way to be like, well, after we straighten your smile and look at how beautiful, I would also recommend some whitening trays, maybe a whitening treatment, just to make your final smile pop. So as I was saying, Treatment Simulator is really the easiest of all the engagement apps, because they're there. It's nothing really extra than just a lower upper bite scan. Once you complete that, software pretty much does most of it for you. These last minute adjustments can be done really just with your patient in a quick chairside consultation. Just again, to gain that customer experience, gain that trust, and get those expectations. And then after that, you can send it off to whatever clear aligner company is your preference, and they can begin your clear aligner process. This is a great one to start getting those dental assistants, those hygienists really involved and into scanning without it being just a restorative scanner. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my main page once more. Okay, and now we're going to dive into patient monitoring. Now, as a clinician, if I'm allowed to play favorites, even though you never have a favorite child, I love patient monitoring. I think that it provides us the opportunity to educate our patients. In a world where patients have essentially the world at their fingertips with cell phones and Google and all of those things, we want to be able to provide that education for them on why they need treatment. And this is a great way to do that. With patient monitoring, all you need to have is 2 or more scans under the same patient. So if you recall earlier, I mentioned you always want to make sure that you search for patients before adding them as new. And this is going to be why. You don't just want to add a new patient every single time, because then patient monitoring will not enable. You need to have more than 2 or more scans under the same patient. This is another great way where having that scan done during hygiene or during an exam appointment builds their chart. You're able to really kind of see those changes over time, just like how we do with bite wings. You're really able to identify change and show the patient what's going on. So for this case, we're going to be talking about it more in a restorative fashion. I have another one that we'll talk about it in an orthodontic fashion, which is really cool too. So here in the patient monitoring wear demo, I have more than 2 scans. As soon as I have more than 2 scans, this TRIOS patient monitoring icon at the top of my screen will automatically show up. I don't have to do anything. As long as I have 2 or more scans, it'll automatically show up here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Okay. The first thing it's going to have me do is select all the scans that I want to compare. In this case, I want to compare all 3, but on other patients, I may only want 1 or 2 from more recent years or certain cases that I'm looking at comparing. Okay. So once I've selected my cases, I can hit next. And it's going to bring me into segmentation. Now, segmentation will happen automatically. Okay? It is just something that patient monitoring does for you. But you do still want to take a second and ensure that your segmentation is right across all of the scans that you're going to be comparing today. The reason for that is the segmentation is what's going to determine those different changes. Essentially, it's marking tooth number 2 and tooth number 2 and overlaying them on top of each other. So that way you can see those changes. So if number 2 is not labeled correctly, you're not going to be able to see those changes as easily. So, like I said, it does automatically do it for you, but you do just want to come in here and do a quick check. There are some options up here in the upper left-hand corner if you wanted to make some changes or if you had to make some changes. So we're going to zoom in down here on 17. Okay? So you can see that 17 is poking through right back here. Now, it did not mark it, mainly because it's not fully erupted. So I'm going to add it in, because perhaps I want to see how 17 has erupted over the years, or if it's causing a disruption or movement to 18. So I'm going to add it in. To add it in, I'm going to select Add on my little paintbrush, and you'll see that I have this little circle here, and this little bar will allow me to change the size of my circle. This is going to be my paintbrush. So I can click and drag, and I can fill in and paint my number 17 in back here. Once I let go, it will then prompt me to choose the number. I'm going to go number 17, and now we're painted. You can see I missed a spot, so I'll go back in and make some adjustments. And that looks pretty good. Now, you can also see that I went a little too high up here on the ridge. So I'm going to select remove, and I can now erase that area that I went too high. Okay. Well, it looks like I'm still missing a little area in here, so I'll just add that in. And now it looks good. Okay. Now you want to remember, if you add something to one of the scans on one of the dates, you would want to go in and add it to all of them. Okay. So in this instance, 17 is not there, so there's nothing I can add to it. That means that it was either trimmed off or perhaps it was extracted in between these two times. And then same thing with this last scan here, if I needed to add it in. Okay. So you can actually see it here, so I will add it. Add that in. Perfect. You do also have the ability to edit ID numbers. That would really be in the case that it labeled something incorrectly. So this will most happen if they had an extracted premolar and it labeled it as 5 instead of 4 or 12 instead of 15. And you need to make sure that your numbers are consistent across your segmentations. Because if it's labeled 4 here and then 5 on another, they're not going to line up correctly. So once my segmentation is happy and it's all good, I can hit accept segmentation on all of my scans. And it will bring us through to our compare scans page. It's going to take a second while it processes my changes and pulls up my scans. I can pull this little drag bar down at the bottom all the way to the left, and that will then pull in my 2017, April 25th to November 2018. In the upper right-hand corner, I'll see newer versus older. So if I were to remove these, here I'm just looking at 2017 and vice versa. Now we're going to jump into the visualizations, and I'm going to take a look at just my upper arch. Now, if we take a look right here at number 10, and I play my simulation, you can really kind of see those changes that happen. It takes a second to load. Okay. So we can see that some type of change has occurred here from the time-lapse video that the software created for us. So now when we go to measurements, we can use our tooth comparison to pull up our tooth comparison tool. And here's where we can see that there has been some major change there on 10. So what happened? Are they grinding more? Perhaps there was movement. Was a restoration on the lower done that could be affecting number 10? But through this time frame, there was quite a bit of wear. If I hover over it, it will also give me different measurements, and they correspond with the heat map on the right-hand side of the screen. To get an even more accurate measurement, we can use our cross-section tool, which will allow me to draw a line or a cross-section. Okay. Right down the center of my tooth. And now when we pull up our cross-section view, we can really see that change. We can see our newer scan, which is the brown tan color, versus our blue periwinkle color. And we can take those measurements by selecting one point and putting another point. And we can see that in this area, there has been 4.48 millimeters of change. And we can move those dots around and really take a look at what has gone on over the time of these scans. Okay. So I really like this one. Again, this one is great for that patient education. It really kind of shows how the patient got to where they are today. Perhaps you've been talking to them about a night guard for the last 2 years and they keep saying that they don't need it. It's a great way to show that maybe you do. We also have our scan comparison tool over here, but I'm going to show you that one in a different case. So that is going to be our wear measurement tools by using the tooth comparison and the visualizations. I'm going to go ahead to back to my patients page. And I'm going to pull up my ortho demo case. So again, you'll notice I have 2 or more scans here. That is the only time that patient monitoring will work. And I will select it in my workflow. Now here, I have significantly more scans. So I actually have an arrow right down here that will allow me to move that way so I can grab my 5th one. Okay. In this case, I'm going to use all my scans and I want to compare over a long period of time. Once I get into my segmentation, again, I just want to make sure that everything is correct, everything is good to go, and I can accept and continue. Once we're in compare scans, I'm going to come to my visualization. I'm going to turn it into a bite scan, right? I'm going to include it. And now I'm going to hit play. Now this case really shows the power of the time-lapse video that it creates and how it can be used to really kind of show patients what's been going on. Okay, so you can see over the process from 2016 to August 2018, so a 2-year time frame, this is where we started and this is where we have ended. Okay. Really provides that wow factor. Maybe that patient who feels that things just aren't moving along the way they thought they were. Or even post-treatment, when you can say, I know you haven't been wearing your retainer because here is where we left and here's where you are now. If I pull up the measurements tab, okay, and I remove my lowers, for instance, I can grab this scan comparisons tool, okay? And what scan comparison is going to do is it's going to show us the changes in movement and tissue. So in the last case, we talked about tooth comparison. Tooth comparison is going to show us enamel changes in the actual structural integrity of the tooth. Scan comparison is going to really show us the movement of the teeth, what has shifted or changed over time, both in the tooth itself as well as the surrounding tissues. So we can see here that there has been quite a bit of movement going on, and that's only from November to August. So if we pull this all the way back to 2016, we can really see that there has been a lot of change over that time. And we can pull up our cross section and take a look at that. And we can take measurements once again. So we can see that there has been a 6.48 millimeter change. Okay. Fantastic. So once I'm happy with my patient monitoring and I want to just take a step back, you can continue adding scans into your patient monitoring. On that scan selection page, next time you come in, if you took a new scan, you would just now add that scan into the scan selection, and it will now include that in your patient monitoring. So you're really building that patient chart that you're able to show them those changes and show them how we got to where we are today, and then what we can do to fix that or address it in any way. Now, the last engagement app that we're going to talk about today is going to be Smile Design. Now, Smile Design allows you to take a 2D picture of a patient and overlay a new smile. This one has a lot of tools within it that you can really use to get that smile looking natural and beautiful. And as well as some of the libraries that we use in Smile Design are actual lab libraries that they can use when creating the restorations. So first thing I have to do is get my photo in. I can either just take a regular photo with a camera and upload the photo to my laptop or to the Move Plus. There is a USB port on the back of the monitor there. Or we can use our 3Shape Communicate account through an app on our phones. So you can take a picture in the app and it will automatically show up here in the software. When I'm here, I'm going to come right into my photo selection. Now, this lovely lady here has a nice broad smile. It's very broad. You can see all of her teeth, and she's a very just natural, bright smile. So for this patient, I only need the one photo. But if I had a patient who perhaps has a heavy upper lip or does not have a very broad smile, I would need a second retracted photo in order to design my smile on so I could see and have a clear view, but then also have their natural smile to show them what that smile would look like naturally, not just in the retracted view. And that's where I can add that additional retracted photo right over here. Once I'm happy with the photo I have in, it will then bring me to my points and rotation. Now it's going to automatically mark the pupils, the nasal wings, and the corners of the mouth for us, but we can make adjustments to that by clicking and dragging my little dot here. And I can adjust these as well. And when I take a look at the outline of her lip, I want to make sure that this outline covers the entire outline of her lip. Okay? The reason for that is if it had proposed like this, when we go to do our simulation later, it's going to propose a natural shadow from the lip. And if we don't have this line in the correct place, it can give us a weird shadow line. So we want to make sure just to take a quick second, make sure that it is not going to cause us any weird shadows. Make sure that this looks really nice down here. Nice and smooth. Once we're happy with that, one quick second. Okay, it's going to bring us to our smile design. Now I have some options here where I can click and drag my entire case and place it where I'd like it to be. I can either follow her true midline or her current. Okay. I also can make things shorter, move it around, change the angulation, bring my smile more wide, and I can also delete some of the teeth that I'm not looking to design. In this case, I will remove the second premolars by selecting the tooth and hitting delete. And then I have my smile libraries. So I'm using a mouse on my laptop, so it allows me to easily scroll through the different libraries. And I can find whichever one I'm looking for that will fit my patient's smile the best. Let's scroll through, find a good one. Okay, let's go with this one. From here, I can make custom designs. So I have symmetric design on as well as linked design. So symmetric design will make sure that everything stays nice and symmetric. Linked design will change the neighboring tooth as one tooth gets wider or smaller. If I turn that off, it will then allow me to overlap, or I can also turn off symmetric design. I'll turn both of those back on. I also have the ability to grab a tooth and move it into whatever position I'm looking for. So if perhaps making that one specifically wider doesn't help me, I can move it into its location and then adjust the surrounding as needed. So let's make these a little shorter. Okay. Now we also have the ability with the latest Smile Design update to also design lower teeth as well. So we can pull in a lower smile. Let's find the matching set. We'll do this one. Okay, so we do also have the ability to bring in those lower teeth. We can set them to where we want them to be. Again, we can make those adjustments as we need to. Drag them, bring them into place. Okay, and again, remove as needed. Okay, this is where that retracted photo may have come in handy, since we now have the ability to do those lower arches, because it's going to be harder for me to see those lowers down here since her lip is in the way. So I will adjust as I can. We also have the ability to use our Freeform tool, which is where we can actually draw custom shapes. So if we select this tooth here, and I think that this line is too sharp there, I can make it a little bit softer. Okay. Same thing over here. I can select it and I can make it a little bit softer, maybe not as hard of a line. Okay. Whatever I'm really trying to do. Once I'm happy with my overall shape and overall look, I can then hit next. And it's going to bring us to our simulation. Now here in our simulation, we can choose different textures and colors. Okay. To find whichever one looks best. Okay, I'm going to go with this one. And then we also have the ability to blur and sharpen our texture, okay, as well as add highlights. Now the software will automatically try to choose the color for you by doing like the auto color. I do think that that's a little dark, so I'm going to brighten it up a little bit by using perfect. And then I have this shadow from the lip. And if you recall earlier, I said you want to make sure that the outline looks good, or else you're going to get some weird black lines there. So I'm not going to turn it on too much, just enough. And my last thing up here is going to be my photo edit. Here's where I'm able to really make my photo blend in with my new smile. You'll see that you can see the existing tooth right here behind my new smile. But if I click and drag, I'm able to kind of fill that in using her gingiva. So I can do the same thing over here. I can pull up from the bottom down here, work on the lowers as well in the process, and really pull those in. Now I do think my centrals are a little long, so let's go back and adjust that.
Sarah, while you're doing that, I'm going to ask a question, if I may. Do you find that users are typically doing this before their patient arrives, or are they doing it in front of their patient and taking any comments or their considerations into play?
That is a great question. What I would generally recommend is take the photo as the patient is coming in. So then that way it can get all uploaded and everything can be all set to go when you're ready to smile design. Basically get to this page before you're going to smile design in front of the patient. Just so then that way you're not having to fuss with uploading photos, getting everything in, aligning the photos. You can really just jump right into that smile design. So if you're coming in for a consultation or for a hygiene appointment, take that photo first and then have the assistant or the office manager kind of get it uploaded and in. So then that way you're able to design the smile design with the patient without all the stress of having to get it all uploaded. In the beginning, smile design does take some practice, only because you're using so many different tools and different libraries. You really are going to be taking a little bit more time because you don't have your go-tos yet, right? Like I guarantee everyone has their favorite composite. Everyone will have their favorite libraries. So in the beginning, when you're first learning smile design, it will take a little extra time. So if you don't want to have that time in front of the patient, then definitely you can take your photos during their hygiene and call them back for consultation, do virtual consultations, really whatever you're looking for. But definitely take the photo prior, get it all up and loaded if you are going to do it chair side, just so then that way you can jump right in with your patient and you don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Perfect. That's great. And then you can just sort of fine tune it with the patient present. Love it.
Exactly. So once I'm happy with my smile, I can go ahead and hit next, and it's going to bring in our simulation. Okay, so you can see our before and our after. This little bar is moving by itself, and it'll bring it back to center, where I can move it to show before and after. Okay. And we also have some tools over here. We can see it mirrored. Okay, we wanted to see what it looks like there. We can also anonymize her photo if you wanted to use it in a presentation or anything like that. As well as you can add your own logo or signature. So if you're going to be printing this out or emailing it to the patient, you can actually add your office's logo or your signature or whatever you want to the photo, so that way it just customizes it a little bit more. Down at the bottom, we have a couple different ways for you to send it to the patient. You can send it to them through email, where you can type in their email. You do have to require a PIN. It's for those HIPAA purposes. That way, if you put the wrong email in, it doesn't go to and goes to the wrong patient or wrong person. They can't access that information. So you do have to put a PIN in. I usually recommend like the patient's birth year or month and day or something that they'll remember. So they can email it this way. You also have the ability to export it and save it and print it out. And you also have the availability to export a GIF. Okay, so the GIF will actually be this going back and forth. Okay, so your patient can actually see the before and after live, and it's like a live video. Okay. Once I'm happy with my smile design, like I said, I can then send it to the patient, or I could add in my prescription a scan. So let's say I wanted to add in a study model scan. So I did the smile design, I'm going to take a scan, and I can send all of that to my lab, and they now can create a virtual wax up off of the scan that I sent and use that smile design as reference when creating their virtual wax up. Okay. Fantastic. Well, that is everything I had to cover today, Kelly.
You did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I love that you ended on smile design, because I you know, you could smile design me, Sarah. No. Let's see if we have any questions from our crowd.
We do not. Do you want me to kick into the polling, Kelly?
Of course, that sounds great.
Here we go. So audience, we are curious if you currently have a 3-shape TRIOS scanner. So we'll give this just a few quick seconds. So we're curious if you currently have a 3-shape TRIOS scanner. It's going back it's like literally almost 50-50 right now. It's interesting to watch. It's going to be like 48, 52, 53, 47, but it's settling in. Oh, there it goes. So I'm going to end and share results. So like 45% have a TRIOS scanner and 55% don't. So move on to question number 2. And feel free, while we're popping up these polling questions, to pop any questions you might have, want Sarah or Kelly to answer for you inside either the chat box or inside the Q&A.
Absolutely.
So for polling, what do you utilize your scanner for? Do you use it for crown and bridge, Invisalign and orthodontics, bruxism appliances or bite splints, implant abutment or crown surgical guides, partials and dentures, sleep appliances, or all of the above? So you've hit about the 30-second mark, so I will end and share results. So again, 58% all the above, 42% just C and B.
Interesting.
And then scanner 3. The ladies would like to know what your greatest challenges are. Is it clear crown prep and ridges, accurate bite registrations, isolation, gingival tissue reaction or retraction? Sorry. We wish it would react appropriately, and speed and efficiency. So we're curious what your greatest challenges are, and we're right about the 30-second mark, and we're going to end polling. So this one a little bit across the board. So you're at 15% for clear crown prep, 15% for accurate bite registrations, 15% for isolation, 38% for that gingival tissue retraction, and 15% for speed and efficiency. So this is when you could call Kelly and to come in and help you out with some tips and tricks. Oops.
Indeed.
And Excite apps. So this is where we're curious. Are you currently utilizing any Excite apps? So be yes if you have them, no if you have not. So it'd be interesting if we're mostly a no to see if we're really opening some new doors for practices across the nation.
Hopefully after tonight you are.
Yeah.
There we go. Yep. Yeah, we're approaching the 30% mark, and we are at 89% are not using the apps. So Yeah, great. We're glad you're here and
Yeah, for
learning
sure.
about what else is available inside that beautiful machine you have in your office. And then, of course, we have to take a mini poll. Do you want some one-on-one remote TRIOS training? This is complimentary, orchestrated through our very own Kelly Bevington. So we are curious if you're interested in the one-on-one training. We have posted up her contact information inside the chat box. I will repost that. And then also we'll be sure to send it in a follow-up email. So ending polling, we're at 65% are curious and interested in some training with you, Kelly.
Terrific.
Great.
Look forward to it.
We are excited to learn and engage. I don't see any other questions or comments. Sarah, Kelly, any closing remarks?
Just thank you, and to reiterate the fact that we're really honored that you chose to spend your precious time with us and to learn about the Excite apps through Sarah. So thanks again, and we will see you again soon on our next round.
Audience, thank you so much for joining
Thanks,
us.
everybody.
We really appreciate your time to engage, and we look forward to learning more with you.